We're talking about white supremacy. Miss Spittleneck, you were talking about white supremacy.
It's Spitalneck.
Oh, I apologize.
Check this out.
Spitalneck. Miss Spitalneck, while you were talking about white supremacists and abortion, I totally agree with you. There's a lot of white supremacists in the abortion movement and abortionists because they have murdered over 20 million black babies in America since Roe versus Wade in 1973. That's on average 900 black babies are aborted. They're ripped apart inside their mother's wombs. So I would agree with you. That could be labeled white supremacy, or we could just label it murder. And it should never be happening.
That's correct.
So if you want to talk about white supremacy and the abortion movement, you should really analyze that in your human rights groups that you run as you collect donations from people with your nonprofit. Because I think that is something extremely important to talk about, is the right for those black babies to have lives.
Yes, definitely.
Lives as American citizens, the right for them to be born, the right for them to be given a chance to live as free Americans instead of murder. You think this is funny, Miss Spitalneck? Is this funny to you? Is babies being murdered in the womb funny to you? Because
This is a nightmare.
you're smirking and laughing at me right now.
What's not funny are the black people and Hispanic people and Jewish people and Muslim people who have been murdered in synagogue, in church, in supermarkets, in mosques by white supremacists.
Are you aware that all colored people are murdered? That is a fact, that every single color person has been murdered.
That's correct.
That's not unusual. It's not just that people of color are murdered. White people are murdered too. Murder is not just for minorities. That may be a shock to you because you seem to dive deeply into all kinds of misinformation and seem to be uninformed yourself. But if you're going to talk about white supremacy and abortion, you need to study very hard about who the targets are. And it's not just black women and it's not just black babies, it's Hispanics as well. And I think that's important for you to understand. And if you apparently care about human rights and you care about studying extremism, let's have a little talk about extremism, shall we? I think that's important because that's what this hearing is all about. I'd like to inform you, or maybe you don't know.
She's 21 and dumb as a Brillo pad.
Maybe you do know. I doubt it. You mostly care about white supremacists and white-wing extremism. But there's quite a pattern of left-wing violent protests on college campuses today. Miss Gaines here was a victim of it. Do you support what they did to Miss Gaines? These trans terrorists chasing her into a room. Do you support their movement?
Guys, don't change the subject. Just answer the fucking question.
I am absolutely sorry that Ms. Gaines felt threatened and unsafe while she was on a college campus, and that's not acceptable. But again, the statistics tell us that when it comes to politically motivated violence, in 2022, every single murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
That's a lie.
Every single murder in America was committed by a right-wing extremist?
Every single politically motivated murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Are you aware that the Tennessee shooter just recently identified as a man and she was a biological woman? Was she a right-wing extremist as well?
General Lady's time has expired. I'll allow the witness to answer the question.
So that was a shooting that happened in 2023. There is no evidence as to what ideology motivated that shooting.
Are you insane?
And what we do know is that cisgender males are responsible for the vast majority of mass shootings in this country.
I'm sorry, I don't know what a cisgender male is. There's only two genders. It's male and female. That would be that. So no one knows what a cisgender male is. It's a made up.
Unfortunately, anti-trans invasion.
Georgia,
Let's just calm down. I'm sure we can settle this peacefully.
yields back. I recognize Mr. Strong for his 5 minutes of questioning. Beg your pardon, Mr. Ezell. I missed you over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Erickson, as a sheriff and a police chief and a law enforcement professional.
Wow. Let's do that again.
No.
be like, oh, this person was canceled because they were racist. Most of the time, it's white people that are canceling people. It's not black people that are up in arms. Like, black people did not go up in arms about Dr. Seuss. That was literally created by white people who are now wielding the race sword and being like, you must go. Morgan Wallen scandal. Black people were like completely out of, they don't even know who Morgan Wallen is, right? I mean, so they're like, So this is actually white people being empowered and using race as a tool, and white people establishing that the trans agenda is now their new frontier of oppression. So, no, I don't think that, I think black is peak victim. And if black Americans were like, cut this out with the trans stuff, they would have to sort of cut it out. But yeah, it's interesting because really the question is who,
Wait for it.
Who's deciding on these cancellations and these victimhoods. And it ends up being, if you follow it, wealthy white corporations.
And of course, you add in the political ideology part of it, because by that equation, you should be able to claim victimhood, but you can't because you're actually at the bottom.
Right.
Because even though you're a black woman, you're conservative. So
right.
you're like, you become the uber villain.
But also what's magical about it, though, is they don't know how to defeat me, because in order to defeat me, they'd have to go against their own rules, right?
Fact.
So they've decided that being a black woman, like I'm at the top of the progressive stack, right? Like black women need to find their voices. Like Meghan in her interview, I guess, said something about like, felt like the Little Mermaid who fell in love with the prince and lost her voice, which is
Are you serious?
Just one of the most
Did pathetic. She, really say that?
She actually said that.
Oh,
which
Lord.
You see what I mean? Like it just makes you cringe and it makes you angry. You're just like, Hollywood, right? As you're the Little Mermaid. And it's like, no, like you found a wealthy guy that could help you climb a ladder because you were a D-list actress. The end. You won.
Stop it.
Great. Walk away into the sunset and be happy. But yeah, it's interesting.
Don't you find that you
don't know how to attack me?
Don't you find that you get even more hate than, let's say, I would as a white man?
Oh yeah.
Because
Here it comes.
not only you're saying unpopular things, but also there's this element of you're betraying. The left thinks that that you belong to them. Because of their
right. So that they get very frustrated because it's like they assumed all of this power by creating these sort of victimhood channels. And one of those things was black women are always victims. So when a black woman denies being a victim and says, I don't want to take the victim card, I don't believe in the black card, I feel remarkably privileged in this country to be an American living and breathing at this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You are privileged. They just go, because now they don't know how to defeat me without being racist themselves, right? Because attacking a black woman is fundamentally racist. So they just want me to go away and they don't know how to make that happen.
Now, we were talking about the trans thing a second ago. Gender, I've noticed it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like in recent months, you've been focusing especially on gender issues.
Yeah.
Going back to the infamous Harry Styles.
Stop it.
Your controversial opinion that you don't think men should wear dresses. I don't know how you could possibly say such a thing. But so there's that, and then there's the women, the men in sports and all those sorts of things. I think that the gender issues have been, I've been saying for years that this is...
That doesn't make sense.
One of the central battlefields of the culture war. It's time for conservatives to wake up to it and start engaging. This is not a sideshow. It felt for so long that conservatives said, well, this is a fad, it'll go away. It's not. So what? Am I correct that you've been focusing on this more? And if so, why is this important, do you think?
So I actually haven't been focusing on it more. It's just that it's kind of finally come to fruition.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Which you predicted it, I predicted it. So 3 years ago, when I was first speaking out, I was like, watch this, because this is something that you think, it's less than 1% of the population. It's not going to ever be a thing. And I was like, I just kind of saw it kind of brewing, and I had done tons of episodes on my show, my previous shows, talking about it. When I was sitting college campuses, I was talking about it. And then it feels like sort of in the last 6 months, they sort of became really obsessed.
Are you serious?
With now even calling a woman a woman is wrong, right? Like even trying to say, all of these terms, woman X, how do you even say it? Womex? Women's?
Womenix.
Womixin.
Womixin? Womixin, I think.
Womixin. Yes. You can do it! Right?
I also thought it was Latinx, but I'm told that it's a Latin X.
No, let's go with Latinx,
yeah,
right? And which is hilarious because if you ever use the word Latinx, it's the easiest way to discern that someone is not actually Latino or Latina because they'd have to do away with the entire language.
Yeah.
Everything is a gender in Spanish.
Stop it.
La mesa, that's table. Like it's like boy or girl for everything. But yeah, so I just saw it coming, and I wanted to really assert myself on that issue because it is just the greatest undoing, trying to
Stop it.
get to destroy families, weaken society. I mean, you can do everything through the transgender movement that the left is really after, which is just chaos. So yeah, I just spoke out against it, and I will say this, like I said earlier,
Here it comes.
it is the one issue that Black Americans are the most uncomfortable with. And so I have not, I've seen Black Americans across both sides of the political spectrum say, okay, on this, she's 100% right, which makes sense. It's because if you poll Black America in terms of their politics, they've never been big supporters of the LGBTQRNST.
That's also, you don't, whatever it is.
Nice.
I just say the whole alphabet, but you say that the Black